You can teach a monkey how to fly an aircraft, but you cannot train it to be a pilot. This is a sentence that my flying instructor, when I was training to become a commercial pilot, used quite often. And its meaning has gotten more and more importance to me over the years. Let's not forget that we as recreational aviators, of course, also fly aircraft. Whether it be a powered paraglider, a hang glider, a paraglider, a sailplane, you name it. So what exactly is the difference between flying an aircraft and being a pilot? Are those two not the same thing? Let's find out. Welcome to Flight Coach. If you're new here, my name is Bas van Duin, and it is my mission to help you get more out of life and your flying career through having less stress and more skills. Today's episode will be a bit less scripted, a bit less perfectly edited, and I wanted to make it seem like more of a one-on-one conversation than my normal videos. Please let me know how I'm doing. Leave a comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. If you like what you're seeing, maybe consider subscribing. Don't forget to press the bell icon so you get notified at every new upload that I do. First off, getting back to the giveaway that I did in previous episode. Joao, you won the book and it's on its way to you. And for everyone that did not win, unfortunately, if you're fast, you can still get that worldwide free shipping. Just check the link in the description below for Paragliding, the Beginner's Guide, a great book. So of that quote, there are many popular variants. Like, you can teach a monkey how to fly as long as you have enough bananas. Or, you can teach a monkey how to fly, but you cannot train it to fix an aircraft. Well, this particular edition, you can teach a monkey how to fly, but you cannot train it to become a pilot. I think it was very specific and maybe even made up by my instructor. Because I've not been able to find any examples of this being used online. It doesn't seem to be a very popular one, but I think it's a great one nonetheless. So what I love about this specific statement, if you will, is that it shows that there is apparently a big difference between controlling an aircraft and being a pilot. Well, when looking at it from a distance, we may think that these two are actually the same thing, because a pilot, well, that's the person controlling the airplane, right? Well, I think this is actually quite an important distinction. And knowing this distinction, being aware of it, I think can have a profound positive impact on your flying career. So let's first look at the basic thing that makes up being a pilot. And that is being able to control that aircraft. Now, simply put, controlling an aircraft means being able to steer, being able to make turns, to ascend, to descend, to accelerate, to decelerate, to take off and land and taxi, all these basic activities. Now, of course, we have the equivalent in hang gliding, paragliding, paramotor flying as well. We use our limbs to control the glider, whether it be it using the hands on the brakes or the hands on the bar and steering. You have a throttle when you're flying with a paramotor. You have your legs for accelerating on takeoff and landing, coming to a standstill. You have your head for looking. Now, unfortunately, for some pilots, the training stops here. They associate being a pilot with being able to control your aircraft as being a one-on-one relationship. And that's one of the reasons why I always try to dissuade people from self-training, because this is where the fun actually starts. When you're able to control your glider from start to flying to landing and everything that surrounds it in a technical way, you have a lot of fun. You are out there in the air, and you might be tempted to think that this is it, that this is all, because this is what you have been working for, right? So the big challenge you face is that you stop learning after achieving this point, after being able to control your aircraft. Well, actually, if we go back to the commercial training program that pilots follow worldwide, I dare to say that roughly only 20% of the total training that is involved with becoming a pilot is learning how to control the aircraft. So what's the rest then? What's the other 80%? It's about gathering and weighing information as well. When we look at commercial airline pilots again, it's knowing the status of your aircraft, both technically as in more operational things, like how many fuel should I bring? Yes, of course, there's someone calculating that for you, but as a pilot, you always have to make the decision how much spare fuel you want to bring. What alternate airports do you maybe want to be able to reach in case there are problems at your original destination? What is the planned route you're going to fly? That's also done by someone else. You have a say in that. Maybe there are unruly passengers on board that you have to deal with. Also information that you have to process. What is the meteorology like? Now translating that to our level again, we have to know location information. Where am I allowed to take off? Maybe there are certain locations that you're not allowed to fly. Especially important when you go to hike and fly. What are the local rules for landing at the official landing field? There probably is a prescribed pattern that you have to fly. By the way, I made a video specifically on this topic. I'll leave a link right here. Another part, being a pilot, decision making. Based on the information you have, the knowledge you have. And this is at a really broad level. When you are done with your training, you have to choose an airline you want to work for. You have influence over what type of plane you're going to fly in. Yes, I know, usually you get pushed down a certain lane and certain types are logical to follow one another, but you still have influence on whether you want to accept type A or want to go with type B. You want to start flying intercontinentally straight away, or do you want to stay local? The career paths are pretty different in that as well. What extracurricular activities do you want to do? Maybe you want to become a safety officer, want to become an instructor, etc, etc, etc. Now, of course, there are a lot of decisions to be made in flight as well. And making decisions is relatively easy when everything goes okay. But the real measure of a pilot is taken when the shit hits the fan. You have to deal with changing weather, changing technical circumstances, maybe failing equipment, the way people on board are behaving. Do we land or do we go around? And in our recreational world, it's the same. What gear is suitable for me? Where do I go flying? When do I go flying? Which club or school suits me best? And of course, we have that in flight as well. How is the day developing and how should I deal with it? Can I fly close to the ridge in these conditions? Is it okay to top land over there or make a slope landing over there? Do I take this thermal or do I skip it and go for the next one? And this point becomes particularly of interest when you're better at flying cross country. Sometimes you're intentionally deciding not to gain altitude with a certain thermal and to go for the next one, to increase the average speed at which you're flying through your route. Then there's the point of working with others. In commercial pilot training, there actually is a specific part of the training program called the multi-crew course, in which you learn what your role is and what the role of the other guy or girl in the cockpit is. How do we communicate? How do we work together? What are our procedures? And how do we deviate from those procedures? And in what cases? What do we do when one of us falls ill or gets incapacitated? Now let's take a look at that for us as recreational aviators. That's quite a difficult one, don't you think? Some people might say, yeah, well, hang gliding, paragliding, powered paragliding, that's a solo sport, right? Especially when you have your license. I'm the pilot, don't nobody tell me what to do. While at the same time, we have a lot less professionally gathered information when comparing ourselves with the professional aviators. So you checked your app. Is that the information? Maybe another app is giving you contradicting information. What does the information in this app actually mean for your launch conditions? Or for what the conditions are like when you cross that valley 20 kilometers that way? when you're flying over there at Cloud Base, or for when you want to land in 2, 4 or 8 hours from now. I think there actually are great reasons for us to work together with other recreational aviators in order to have the best experience for ourselves, for the others, to stay safe and to get the most out of the day. Well, as discussed earlier, we need to share information, but maybe we can do that in the air as well, over the radio. We need local information from pilots that are familiar with a certain spot. Maybe we can exchange tips and ideas. You can evaluate your flights and the decision making. Another important point, talking about the distinction between flying an aircraft and being a pilot, is the point of self-development. Now, as a commercial pilot, you have mandatory checks roughly every half year on how to deal with certain procedures, how to deal with emergencies. Your knowledge is tested, your skills are tested. I think in some cases it would be a great thing if we did that in our recreational aviation. But that may be a topic for another day. But what is checked is if you can still do what you are trained to do, if you can still do what you're being paid to do. And on this point of self-development, there is also training for new procedures, for special procedures, training for new aircraft types. But what does it do for us? Well, for us, I think self-reflection is important, introspective, thinking about how we are actually feeling today. Or how did we fly today? What did we learn today? Talk to other pilots, ask for feedback. And I don't mean just high-fiving every other person on landing. Yeah, I'm so stoked, man, it was super. Yeah. That's fun, that's something you can do, you should do, of course. But that's not the basis of reflecting on the day. Was it cool for you? Yeah, it was great, man. And of course, this doesn't have to be heavy. I'm not talking about making group therapy sessions here. But maybe, just maybe, when you're sitting down at the end of a flying day, throw in a question now and then. If you're sitting with a bunch of people, ask them, what was your scariest moment today? Or from which thing, or which decision was the hardest today for you? What did you learn from it? And ask for specific feedback. Asking someone, what do you think of my lounge? I think is a pretty shitty question. You need to be more specific and you need to draw someone across that hurdle of really giving you targeted feedback. So a better question would be, what do you think I can improve my launching skills? And the last point that I think separates us from the monkeys is be an ambassador. Depending on the type of aircraft you're flying, you can be responsible to more than a dozen of crew. And as a captain, it's your job to make sure that they're working together in the best way possible. And maybe also try to work on them being able to develop themselves. And of course, you're transporting very precious cargo, maybe even a few hundred passengers. Now, standing in the door, talking to the passengers while they leave the airplane is not just for fun. As captain, of course, together with the whole crew, but you are responsible for the experience that your customers have. Those customers that pay the airline, and the airline pays for your livelihood. And I think there are also a lot of similarities with how we do this in our recreational aviation world. We have spectators to deal with. We have locals to deal with. And I don't mean local pilots, but I mean residents of the areas we fly in. We have people that are interested in the sport. Be nice, answer their questions, point them to a local school or club for further information. And in some cases, there's law enforcement agencies that we have to deal with. So I think that there are a lot of differences between just being able to fly our aircraft and actually being a pilot. And I'd love to hear what you think. Maybe I forgot something, maybe you have something to add. Please drop it in the comments down below. By the way, if you're looking for a way to contribute to the channel, maybe check out the sponsored links in the description below. I linked some cool merchandise over there. You can maybe even get as a Christmas gift for yourself or someone else. There's also a donate button over there you can use to buy me some beers. See you next time. See you in the air.